Greetings, PIF watchers, it's Peachy Panda. In keeping with the regular requests for PIF review episodes that I've been receiving, this episode is Fire Safety, and this was a request from Stephen Hilton, so thank you for that, Stephen. The comment box is open for future episodes, just bear with me and I'll get through them. I do lead a busy life, so I'll try my best to rattle through those and get them done. I'll also be letting you know what my next PIF review is going to be at the end of this episode. Right, going to cover general aspects of fire safety, mostly excluding the theme of smoke alarms, although I have included one smoke alarm PIF. I think I'm going to do another episode in the future just concentrating on smoke alarms, but this is not this episode. This episode is just the general, matches, chip pans, all that stuff. Going back to the classic format for the episode, it's going to be back in the order of the classic, the game changer, the nightmare feel and the vintage clip, along with my scare factors for each of them. I do apologise that I'm not on video right now. I look a bit of a state because I haven't been very well. I look a bit of a mess because I've been stricken down with hay fever, which is the most pointless illness ever made. So to get on with it, my first one is to do with chip pan fires, and it's a tiny bit graphic, so viewer beware, you may be in for a scare. I have no idea what it's called, so I'll just call it chip pans.
If your chip pan catches fire, don't panic. Just follow these instructions. 1. Turn off the heat. 2. Run a cloth under a tap and wring it out. 3. Cover the pan and then wait until it's cooled right down. Don't try and move the pan, and whatever you do, don't throw water over the fire. The effects can be devastating.
Well, all things considered in terms of fire safety PIFs, this is the one that has actually stuck in my mind since I was little. I'm classifying it as a classic based on the impression campaigns like this had on me when I was about 6 or 7. Apparently, I was enough of a pest about my chip pan that my parents eventually had to throw theirs out because I got extremely frightened and a bit weepy whenever my mum would make chips in the pan. Isn't that lovely? PIFs actually do work. Now that I'm older and a bit more enlightened, and now we're living in a technological age where there's fancy deep fat fryers that are a lot safer, I can enjoy my chips without having visions of that woman in the back of my mind. Nothing personal, but she does give me the creeps. I do feel for her, but, obviously she's learned. She's done a PIF saying, don't do what I did, basically. I do respect her for that, yeah, I do. I think in terms of the film itself, it's informative, gets the message across, and gives you a set number of points and instructions to follow in the worst case scenario, and it waits until the very end to hit you with a scare tactic to hammer the point home and show you the worst that can happen, well, apart from death, obviously. And so for that, I'm going to give it a scare factor of 7 out of 10. The next PIF I'm going to do is the game changer, and this is the only smoke alarm PIF in the entire set, and this one is called Excuses.
As I went down to the valley to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown? Good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, down in the valley to pray.
Well, if you're like me and you're extremely phobic of burnt out buildings, that last shot is just it's definitely the game changer. It's horrific. I really hate that final shot. I can watch the rest of it with ease, but there's something that just gets me about the very last bit. Why did they put it in? Is it like the one before, where they're just sealing it off with a bit of a scare just to get a point across? The music they've used is also quite eerie in a way. The song you've used, Down to the River to Pray, has origins in African-American spiritual songs that originated from slave songs. I don't particularly know why they put it in, but it sounds a bit hymnish, but I think it would have been a bit more eerie if they'd put one of those kind of choral, Gregorian, Christian type hymns, but that's just me. I'm not sure why the creative team decided on Down to the River to Pray, but trusting their instinct, it does work. In terms of the film itself, it's quite an effective film. It uses the excuses as to why people didn't install a smoke alarm before their untimely deaths thanks to that very same error. The last one with the 2 parents and the baby's headstone is quite chilling, because obviously the baby would have been too young to have an excuse for his own, so he would have relied on the parents, who were in turn both relying on each other. which proved to be the fatal error to the young family. It's very sad. It also shows the different ages on the memorials, which goes to show that it can happen to anyone at any age, which is very true. For the scare factor, personally, if it wasn't for the end shot, I'd give this one about 5. But because of the ending shot and my personal phobias, I'm going to bump it up to a 6. And we have it. This is the one you look forward to, isn't it? The nightmare fuel. Now, a little bit of explanation for this one. This one's actually more of a fireworks bonfire night safety video, although as far as I'm concerned it does come under the general category of fire safety. So, without further ado, I pass you over to the Tyne and Wear Fire Services PIF about our good friend fire.
I love people. Love to be around them, see them smile, see the laughing faces of their young, and children in turn. I'm drawn to this flickering hypnosis, to reach out, as I do in fateful embrace. My name is Fire. Be careful when you're near me. I can't help myself.
Very creepy, isn't it? Just before I go in depth about this one, I have to give absolute kudos to the actor who did this. I mean, if they didn't do it all with magical CGI, I imagine that took a long time for makeup procedures. And by the sounds of it, he sounds like some sort of classically trained, hopefully local actor. Hopefully this was for the Tyne and Wear Fire Service, which is my neck of the woods. It would be good if they'd gotten a local actor to do the role. I'm not entirely sure though, so if someone could leave some information in the comments if you have it, I would be much appreciated. I actually really like this one, despite how bloody scary it is, purely because the monologue really appeals to the kind of writer side of me. It's very nicely worded and it makes the whole element of fire seem more like a sympathetic character rather than a predator or a wicked witch. I'm sure you've all seen the fire safety PIF that has the wicked witch voice talking about all the different hazards in the house. The actor in this one plays off very smoothly, and the ending line, "I can't help myself," it's both sinister and sympathetic. It sort of reads that people are responsible for how careful they are around fire, which is very true, but once they've screwed up and it takes over and burns you, it's your own fault basically, which is also true. I quite like this PIF, but I can relate to the scariness, which eventually got this one banned pre-Watershed. I don't know whether they were justified for pre-Watershed in this one. It's not as graphic as some of the ones that we 90s kids had to sit through way back when. I think the younger generation of television watchers are a lot more sensitive than we were. All they have now is that crappy C-Track Think Train one. Absolutely no blood whatsoever. It's disgraceful. Oh well, I'm ranting now. I think even though the tagline at the end is about fireworks and bonfires, I really believe this could be broadcast about any fire safety message, be it keeping kids away from matches, cigarette fires, things like that. In terms of the scare factor, I'd give this a tasty 8, because all serious black jokes aside, it's pretty damn lingering. For the grand finale, I'm going to present you with a first. A vintage clip that also doubles up as nightmare fuel. Aren't you lot just the luckiest? This one's almost 40 years old, I think it was, and it definitely plays on my phobia of burnt out things. This one's the BFI and John Crish's pants-wettingly effective classic, Searching.
Please keep matches away from children.
Oh Lord, well I don't know about you, but whenever I see one it's always more or less an ordeal to sit through. That could be to do with my little fear of burnt out buildings, but I think that the eerie echoing of the audio for people screaming for each other, no doubt through flames and smoke while they try to exit the house, hence the title, Searching. The slow pan through all of the different charred ruins of the rooms is excruciating. There's really no mercy with this one. It doesn't pull any punches. It barrages you with all the plain, simple, horrific imagery of a ruined family house. It's It takes an image that you can sort of recognise in your own house and then twists it into something horrific. And then there's the pan up to the bedroom and over to the wardrobe, and any self-respecting horror fan is going to assume that something's going to jump out at you. But then we get the keep matches away from children text, which is definitely better than some kind of vision of a charred body. In terms of scare factor for this one, I'm going to do a decimal point one, and it's going to be an 8.5. Well, that's all I have for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed your journey through the charred remains of fire safety campaigns. Next episode, it's been long awaited, I'm going to do a PIF review special in which I'm going to review all of the old Play Safe videos from way back when. I hope you've enjoyed, take care around fire, and I'll see you later. I'm sure you all know that fire safety advert with the wicked witch?